Alright guys, this is a long-play review for Dare 3 The Escape on the Amstrad CPC, released by Virgin Games in 1990. Now this follows on from my previous two long-play review videos on my channel, looking at the other two games, but if you want to know who Dare is and his history, please go and watch the first video. Now, this is an interesting one because it did actually start out as a Dare game. The duo behind the game, the always excellent David Perry and Nick Bruty, confirmed that this was originally a game called Crazy Jet Racer before they got given the Dare license and swapped the graphics around. Indeed, with a bit of digging, I was able to find an actual preview of that game with screenshots in issue 92 of C and VG magazine, and if you look closely and compare it to the game we're about to see, not much has changed apart from the Dare sprite and the introduction of the Mekon. The rest of it seems identical. So with the enforced licensing shoehorning Dare in, this makes the game's story and gameplay seem a little awkward and not completely in keeping with Dare. But here we go. So the story goes, the evil Mekon, leader of the Trees, has built a giant satellite with 5 main chambers where he has been conducting genetic experiments trying yet again to create a new race of super Trees, just like in the second game. Now they're running amok around the satellite and Dare has been captured and stuck aboard it. He finds an escape shuttle, but it needs 50 pounds of rocket fuel to fly. 10 pounds can be found separately in each chamber of the satellite, and with his jetpack he has to travel to each one, defeating the Mekon there, but he can go back to the store to pick up and stock up on jet fuel, weapons and extra lives at any time. But beware, you have to use a teleporter in space to get between the chambers. So there we go. So in a very decent loading screen there, and an okay title screen with no music, unfortunately. But we have some decent sound effects in the game, and some gorgeous graphics and explosions and effects like that. Nice smooth scrolling, nice smooth moving sprites and responsive controls. And here we are in the first section of the satellite, the store of the satellite, and the first appearance of the evil Mekon. We need to defeat him here, which is ridiculously easy to do, and he will basically bugger off, and he'll appear on the next section of the satellite. And that's a pod we've just collected after we defeat the Mekon, which will allow us to travel to the next section of the satellite, essentially level 1 of 4. But including the store, that's 5 sections of the satellite. So now we can use the store here to stock up on smart bombs, like nuke enemies there, bouncing bombs, extremely useful, and even stock up on lives, named as Goes there in the top right corner. And we can also refuel our jetpack here, which is essential. So always between every section, go back to the store, stock up and refuel. And there's the bouncing bombs in action. Simply press the down key, down on your joystick or on your keyboard, to switch between your weapons and pod keys. You can only carry basically 2 pod keys at a time, one to go back to the store at any point, or the pod key to go to the next level. So there we go, we're now travelling to level 1, and we're now using the teleporter in space. And this is an old gameplay style used previously in games like Aliens, the US version, and many other games. Just got to fly through these squares, and there we are on level 2, and immediately get hit by one of those horrible mutant aliens. Of course, they're not actually Trees. These were the original aliens in the Crazy Jet Racer game that David Perry and Nick Bruty were working on before they got the Dare license. Now the levels are very short in size, but the enemies are quite tough. They take quite a few hits, fire at you, and can drain your energy very quickly. Now what we found here is a switch to open a door in the level, but this is the only level that has a switch to open a door, so it's kind of a bit of an, like the rest of the game, it all maybe lots of unfinished ideas that could have been expanded on. So that's the only switch we have to find in the entire game. And my god, my energy drains very quickly. So I'm not going to do this long play as a long play without losing any lives. So we're going to lose quite a few lives here and stock up on them. The game is short enough already and easy enough already. Although I did find this very tough as a kid, because as a kid I wanted to like blast through the levels, blasting away. In fact, you need to take things a little bit more cautiously and make clever use of your nukes and bouncing bombs. And this Mekon is even easier to defeat because you can just fly behind him and shoot him in the arse, basically. And there we go, we've got the pod to go to level 2. Now watch out, sometimes enemies will respawn if you backtrack. So I'm firing a few bouncing bombs here just in case. And that's it. Oh, look at that. I wasn't expecting those two to reappear. Yeah, I just restocked my plasma cannon there. That does have a limited amount of ammunition. But be very careful of your jet fuel running out as well, because otherwise you'll end up stuck on that level, unable to fly back to the store. Yeah, so before we go to level 2, or the third section of the satellite, go back to the store, restock and resupply your jetpack fuel. Thankfully though, the enemies we defeated here don't respawn on the store, so nice and easy. Okay, so yeah, we mentioned briefly about the programmers and graphics artists. So the programmer was David Perry, famous on the Amstrad for doing Savage, Trantor, Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, Smash TV, Extreme, etc. And of course, later extremely successful with Aladdin, Earthworm Jim, MDK, and many more. And eventually selling his company Gaikai to Sony for $380 million about 5 years ago. Wow. Graphics artist Nick Bruti, they often work together as a pair. So same games as above, but adding Impossible Mission 1 apparently. And also a very successful guy and still working today, I believe. There we go, so now we press down to select the pod to level 2. Now we can use the teleporter here again. And yikes, a bad start there. Nice sound effects. Would have been nice to have some music, at least on the title screen. But I feel that this game was maybe a tad rushed. It's obviously a bit rushed. I mean, David Perry and Nick Bruti had making these games down to a T. They always had brilliant smooth scrolling. We've got some parallax in the background with the stars there, if you notice very carefully. Used the nuke there and lost a life, never mind. And they could rattle these games out very, very quickly. This feels very similar to Savage and Trantor and Extreme. They had a very, very good core game engine they reused a lot of times. And probably a fair amount of the graphics as well. Now there's an enemy here. I'm not sure if we actually need to defeat this guy, but we're going to kill him anyway, because there's nothing to pick up afterwards. Probably could avoid him. But I do love the David Perry and Nick Bruti games on the Amstrad. I'm going to do more features on them very, very soon. And there's the fuel for the escape pod. Remember, the subtitle of the game is The Escape, so Dan has to escape from the satellite after killing all the genetically engineered aliens. So, yeah, the other versions of Dan Dare Free on other systems. Now, the Specky version is, of course, very similar. Again, done by David Perry and Nick Bruti. They often did both the Amstrad and Specky versions. Oh, I should have had the nuke selected there. Often, actually, I'll just come to say, often with this game is knowing which weapon to have selected for which section. So, it's kind of remembering what's coming up, having played the game previously. Maybe making a little map and making little notes will help you, like it did with me here. Now I'm using the bouncing bombs here to defeat the train. The nuke is is a bit of a waste there. You can actually shoot your plasma cannon, and your gun will destroy enemy bullets flying at you, so you can protect yourself with that. Because the Mekon fires from up and below and doesn't really do anything else. So I was there blasting away at the bottom of the Mekon, and I was actually blasting his bullets that was shooting towards me. So that's a little tip there. Just got to time this bit right. Watch out for the respawning enemies, possibly. Maybe not on this level. There we go. So I'm going to go back to the store. Yes, other versions. We'll talk about the Specky version. They often did both the Amstrad and Specky versions alongside each other. Specky version, very, very similar, of course, then. And it's very, very nice graphics for a Spectrum. I still think perhaps the Amstrad ones are still a little nicer, but the Specky does have some additional graphical touches and animation on like the status bars. For example, the energy bar on the far right there. On the Amstrad it's solid red, on the Specky it's got like sort of bubbles floating in it, or something like that. So that's a nice touch. It also has some music on the title screen actually, but it's nothing to write home about. So not much between the Specky and Amstrad one. Maybe the Amstrad one has slightly nicer graphics, but the Specky one has some extra graphical touches and some music on the title screen, which doesn't really improve the game much. The Commodore 64 version has some very, very nice SID chip music from Maniacs of Noise, and some very decent sound effects, as always with the SID chip. The graphics are very decent for the Commodore 64. I would probably say not as good as the Specky and the Amstrad versions, but still very, very good graphics. I will say that the teleporter section we're seeing here on the Commodore version is a lot slower, strangely. But generally, it is hard to pick which is the best of the 8-bit versions. There's so very little between them all, and they all play pretty much the same gameplay and stuff like that. Now, this game actually made it to the 16-bit systems. The Amiga had an expanded layout and it's slightly different style to the game, but generally it's pretty much the same game, fairly similar. And the Atari ST, the same, but not as good graphics, basically, or music. And apparently it did make it to the IBM PC DOS or whatever. Unfortunately, I've not seen that game running or played it, so I can't really comment on that. I just love the explosion effects that was always prevalent in the Perry and Bruty games of the era. And a very, very nice Dan Dare sprite. Yeah, so just use the nukes there to get through. You do get plenty of sort of credits. It's called the battery. I didn't mention it, the battery. The battery charges up, I think, more enemies you defeated if you beat a level. You do have plenty of battery credits, if you want to call it that, for the store. So stock up with about maybe 4 or 5 nukes. Have a full complement of bouncing bombs, and make sure your plasma cannons are recharged and of ammunition. But some reason there the sound effects didn't happen for the nuke. Very strange. But most importantly, stock up on lives. It's buying lives that's going to drain that battery. So the less lives you lose, the better. And it will make the game a lot tougher because you end up not being able to afford nukes and bouncing bombs. So that's the only thing I'd say to watch out for. You cannot replenish your energy though at any point, so there's no energy pickups. So that health bar on the right will stay as it is, draining energy when we hit enemies. And oh, I wasn't expecting that green thing there. It is very nice sprite design though of the enemies and stuff, even if it's nothing to do with Treens and Dan Dare, they still look pretty cool. Nick Bruty was such a great 8-bit pixel artist. And Dave Parry, what a brilliant programmer. Went on to have a very, very fantastic career. So basically, guys, we're going to have the final level coming up, so we'll stock up on lives. And that's most important here. There's not many enemies to defeat on the final level, so if we get a full complement of lives, and as many, then spend the rest of your money on nukes and bouncing bombs. And yeah, we're coming up to basically the end of the game, so I will sum up a review very quickly. Graphically brilliant as always, smooth gameplay, responsive controls, smooth sprites, great sprite design, really good sound effects, and the graphics, of course, fast and explosive, as to be expected from David Perry and Nick Bruti. But unfortunately, I think downsides often with their later games on the 8-bit systems, often the later licensed games like Turtles, I think Captain Planet and stuff, they often feel very short and rushed. Kind of minimal presentation as well. I.e., you won't get an intro sequence, you won't get an ending sequence, not much going on the title screen, etc, etc. And the games are often very short in length, perhaps sometimes overly difficult because of the to compensate for the short length. I'm not sure why the game sort of froze there, because I think I was picking up an item and blowing up a thing there. So yeah, this feels like a few of his other games, a little bit too short and a little bit rushed. It's actually rather too easy as well compared to like the other shorter length games. Shame. Could have been a real classic if expanded more. Like for example, the Mekon just does nothing, and are very easy to defeat. And that's the pod to return there. So we've just got to pick up the rest of the fuel and get back to the store. There we go. We've got £50 of fuel, so we can now escape. So I think as a review score, I think it's going to be a solid 8 out of 10 from me. Just scraping into the 80% range. I think from memory, the Amstrad Action gave it in the late 70%ers score. Maybe wrong. Anyway, let's get back to the store. Yeah, we died there. Never mind. We've got plenty of lives left. And that will be it. So that was it for Dan Dare on the Amstrad. 3 games. Surprising he got 3 games. But it turns out that Richard Branson, owner of Virgin and Virgin Games, was a huge Dan Dare fan. So that is the reason why pretty much we got 3 Dan Dare games on the 8-bit systems. And now blast off, and here's the ending. Well done, Starfighter. You jump back into your Mark II F-73 Astropod, engage super thrusters, afterburn is on, but you blasted straight into the shut bay doors. My god, what a mess. The fuel is everywhere. I'll clean it up. You go and find some more fuel. Are you Fergus? What a strange ending, and unfortunately just a text screen ending. By the way, Fergus refers to Fergus McGovern, the owner of Probe Software, which David Perry and Nick Bruti work for. So there we go, guys. A bit of a disappointing ending there, unfortunately. But that concludes my trilogy of Dan Dare Longplay review videos, guys. I hope you enjoyed. 8 out of 10 from me, and see you all again soon. Goodbye.
So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please click a like below, leave a comment, and also subscribe if you haven't already. And over that way, there's another video for you to check out. Zypho, out.